7 Nightly News with Ross Simons.
No negotiation. John Howard vows to push ahead with major industrial relations reform. Melbourne's nervous night as firefighters walk off the job. And a dream dies. A 7-year-old pilot's record-breaking attempt ends in tragedy. Good evening. The federal government has refused to back away from major reforms to Australia's industrial relations system, despite strong protests from the ACTU. Both parties met face-to-face in Sydney for the first time tonight. Union leaders will now meet in Melbourne to discuss their next move.
After 3 hours, there was agreement only to disagree.
So to the extent that we come from a quite different perspective, it's almost impossible to find common ground between us.
But the ACTU president appeared to adopt a more conciliatory tone at tonight's first meeting with the Prime Minister. She says she can work with John Howard, but disagrees with the extent of the government's mandate for change.
We've made it clear to Mr Howard that we will oppose parts of the legislation which we believe are inconsistent with the mandate that Mr Howard has from the Australian community.
The Industrial Relations Minister Peter Reith says it was a good start.
It's been a frank discussion, to use diplomatic terminology, but
Mr Reith makes it clear there'll be no backing away from the government's industrial relations program.
we were given a mandate by the Australian people to introduce significant reform. We're going to do that, so we're not deadlocked.
Given the fiery rhetoric of the election campaign, the surprise tonight is that these talks were amicable. But there was very little common ground. The only agreement was to talk again. And the man who promised the Howard government a symphony of industrial discord was silent after tonight's talks, Bill Kelty pausing only to wet his whistle. Dennis Grant, 7 Nightly News.
And the GST debate has been reignited with Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett's push for radical tax reform grabbing the spotlight at today's Premier's Conference. But state leaders also turned their attention to other issues, including a plan to tackle child sex abuse.
Jeff Kennett's tax plan was the focus of attention at the Premier's Conference, but he was playing hard to get.
Get out of the way, please.
New South Wales Premier Bob Carr was more forthcoming.
I look forward to an opportunity for him spelling it out.
Mr Kennett's plan, presented to the Prime Minister last night, would see the top tax rate cut to 36%, funded by an alternative revenue source, presumably a GST. He's got business support.
It's been a taboo subject for far too long, and it's one or two things that this country most needs.
Instead, the Premier's focused on child protection, agreeing on a national strategy to combat pedophilia.
I think it's a leap of faith to assume that the abuses uncovered in New South Wales don't apply elsewhere.
Native title legislation was on the agenda, with the states unanimously agreeing it's unworkable and needs changes. Leaders also identified health, education and housing as areas for Canberra's billion-dollar budget cuts.
This is a unique opportunity to bring about a radical restructuring of government activities.
The proposals will be thrashed out at a conference with the federal government in June. Ellen Vine, 7 Nightly News.
Politics were put aside in Sydney today as family and friends gathered to farewell ALP stalwart Mick Young. The former Labor Party president and federal minister was given a state funeral, a grand send-off for a modest man.
At St Mary's Cathedral, they played Mick Young's beloved Danny Boy to say goodbye. The giants of the Labor Party were there, 3 former Prime Ministers and the current Liberal Prime Minister. They paid a moving tribute to the man hailed as a Labor hero. It was impossible for many of them to contain their emotions. Flags flew at half-mast for Mick Young, treasured for his wit and wisdom. Leukaemia claimed his life on Monday at the age of 59. He left school at 15 and went from shearer to federal minister and national ALP president. He was the architect of the campaign that swept Gough Whitlam to power in 1972. His family placed on the coffin 4 symbols of Mick Young's life: his Order of Australia, a book on Irish patriotism, a Port Adelaide football jumper, and his life membership of the Australian Workers' Union. Family and close friends left for a private cremation. Lee Hatcher, 7 Nightly News.
Chaos in Melbourne's fire services tonight, with firefighters preparing to walk off the job at midnight. There'll be just 8 skeleton crews to cover the entire metropolitan area, and householders have been warned they may have to fight their own fires.
It's their most severe industrial action since 1950 and follows months of bitter pay negotiations between the union, the MFB and CFA.
We have been forced into this. There is no option.
The union leader said the state will be manned by just 8 skeleton crews, with only 4 metropolitan stations operational. The MFB has slammed the action, saying it's incomprehensible following in the wake of Monday night's tragic Kew Cottage blaze. Mr Godfredson said lives would be put at risk and warned householders they would have to help protect themselves while the action continued.
I would urge everybody to test their smoke detector, make sure it works.
The MFB has called in all 35 senior officers to work through the dispute, but admits they will be unable to cope with any fire crisis. The CFA says it has enough volunteers to cover emergencies. Liz McGrath, 7 Nightly News.
And some news just in, the Firefighters Union has now agreed to put off their industrial action after threats that members could be sued for any injuries or damage that occurred while they were on strike. They'll return to the negotiating table first thing Sunday morning. Well, the lights are back on in Pannawonica tonight after the West Australian town was flattened by Cyclone Olivia. And as relief supplies begin to arrive, weather forecasters are warning of another tropical low in the state's north.
The skies were blue again over Pannawonica today, filled not with fury of Cyclone Olivia, but the welcome roar of help from the south. The Air Force Hercules carried blankets, food and, best of all, big emergency generators. Nearly 48 hours after Olivia, Pannawonica still has no power, but the people are bouncing back from the worst cyclone since Tracy.
Feel a little bit better today. Yesterday we cried a lot.
Pannawonica is being hung out to dry, trees removed from roofs, debris cleared from front yards. The most common sight on the streets, wheelie bins and dump trucks. Much of the town is on its way to the tip.
So we all sat under there and said the Lord's Prayer I don't know how many times.
Emergency Services Minister Bob Weiss toured the ruins this morning, survivors keen to share their experiences.
Well, it's devastating, absolutely devastating. I mean, it makes you realise just how lucky we are that there haven't been severe casualties or even tragic deaths out of it. It's remarkable that they've come through it so well.
Parents are being warned children under 5 should not have pet dogs. The warning comes from a Monash University research team, which claims youngsters are at greater risk of a dog attack than a road accident.
Man's best friend may be your child's worst enemy. After years investigating accidents and injuries, Melbourne researchers say the pet pooch poses a severe danger to young children. They recommend children under 5 and preferably under 10 not be left alone with any dog.
The dog experts say that children simply lack experience and skills in relation to dogs, that they've had no training about how to deal with dogs.
She says almost 300 Victorians, mostly children, are hospitalised annually with dog bites. Nearly 80% of attacks on children under 5 happen in a private home.
You would think family pet not dangerous at all, but it's hard to gauge the dog's reactions.
The study found any kind of dog, big or small, posed some danger to small children. Now a Melbourne Rottweiler breeder says new dog laws should be taken a step further to include compulsory canine education programs for all dog owners.
If we were to ensure that all dogs were trained and owners of dogs had some form of education on canine behaviour, we could possibly cut those dog attacks in half.
Emma Power, 7 Nightly News.
And coming up, Mitsubishi recalls thousands of wagons and Middle East peace rocked as Israel comes under fire. An alarming escalation in Middle East tensions tonight as Israel comes under attack. Hezbollah has launched rockets hitting settlements in the north, injuring at least 5 people. And already Israel is pounding back.
Now Israeli artillery was in action against declared Hezbollah-controlled areas of South Lebanon as the focus shifted from Thursday's aerial blitz virtually everywhere in Lebanon to the border area. Hezbollah leaders promised painful retaliation. They kept their promise. Several volleys of Katyushas landed in northern Israel. A woman was seriously hurt when one rocket struck her car as she drove through the almost deserted streets of the town of Kiryat Shmona. Half the town's 22,000 residents have left. Others are in shelters, but there were more injuries and considerable damage. With more ground personnel moving across the border into Israel's self-declared security zone, the scale of hostilities is being upped another notch. South Lebanese villagers have been warned that they should leave areas where Hezbollah has been active because Israel intends to shell them.
How young is too young to fly? That's the question in the US tonight after a 7-year-old girl was killed attempting to fly across America. Her mother says the accident should not prevent children from flying, but aviation officials are now reviewing the matter.
7-year-old Jessica Dubroff spoke to her mother by phone as she and her father boarded a single-engine Cessna. They took off in bad weather. Minutes later, their plane crashed into a residential street just a kilometre from the airport. Jessica had been flying for just 4 months. She wanted to be the youngest pilot to cross the United States. It's not known whether she or her flight instructor was at the controls when the plane crashed. Before Jessica left Wyoming, she was asked about the risks of flying.
Well, you got to think about not crashing or doing any mistakes like that.
Jessica's mother was waiting for the flight to end on the East Coast.
I beg of people to let children fly, God, if they want to fly. It's not about her age. Something was off.
Now aviation authorities are reviewing regulations that permit children too young to drive a car fly a plane.
I so enjoy flying. It's so great to be up in the air.
In the United States, Tony Coughlin, 7 Nightly News.
A Melbourne man has told how he used a mobile phone to call for help in Germany's disastrous Dusseldorf airport fire. The blaze killed 16 people and injured 150.
Panic broke out among passengers as fire raged through Dusseldorf's international terminal. Dozens of people were overcome by poisonous smoke and gases. Firemen used breathing apparatus to search the building for victims. Trapped in a multi-storey car park, Melbourne man Ray Nicola and 2 relatives used a mobile phone to direct rescuers to them.
At times, the smoke was that thick we couldn't see each other. Just had hankies in front of our mouth.
At one stage, they were forced back by thick smoke.
By that time, it was very acidy type, feeling in your throat.
Back home, his wife was relieved to hear he was safe.
Well, someone must have been looking after him upstairs.
The airport has been closed, delaying Mr. Nicola's return. Mike Amor, 7 Nightly News.
Former Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti has gone on trial with the mafia over the murder of a journalist 17 years ago. The 77-year-old statesman is accused of instructing the mafia to kill Mino Pecorelli, editor of a political scandal sheet. The prosecution alleges the journalist was shot because he planned to publish secrets about Andreotti's alleged links with the mafia. Andreotti has denied all charges. Mitsubishi has announced a voluntary recall of thousands of its vehicles because of a fault in the brake hose fitting. The recall covers sedans and wagons made between August last year and February this year. Now to finance, and resource stocks surged again ahead with injection of overseas and domestic funds, sending the index to an all-time high today. The All Ordinaries was up 12 points, the Dow also up but by just over a point. And the major resource stocks surging 2%, BHP up 42 cents, CRA up 52 cents, Western Mining up 24 cents. A mixed day for the banks, ANZ up 4, but Westpac down 4 and the Commonwealth down 2. The Australian dollar tonight is worth around 78.98 US cents, 85.72 yen and 52.19 pence. The greenback is around 150.11 marks. Gold is at 395.40. The FT100 is up 11 points. The Nikkei down 34 points. The Hang Seng, just before close of trade, was down 43 points. And ahead in Seven's news, highlights from tonight's league and AFL matches. And they're measuring Greg Norman for a green jacket after the Shark tames the Augusta National.
Any shot we've seen today from the longest.
Now to sport, and Greg Norman has completed a conquest of the Augusta National course, carding the lowest opening round score in the US Masters history. The Sharks' 9 under 63 equalled the course record and put him in the clubhouse 2 strokes ahead of American Phil Mickelson. Aussie Steve Elkington and Ian Baker Finch had disastrous starts.
Augusta National was at its beautiful best, but some weren't enjoying the scenery. Ernie Els was doing it tough on the 12th, resorting to backhand. The Golden Bear, however, was in full cry, on his way to a more than competitive 2 under 70.
Good shot, Jack, indeed.
Compatriot Phil Mickelson set the early pace, his blade on fire. He was clubhouse leader at 7 under, playing the back 9 in just 30 strokes.
Beautiful shot, comes back right beneath the hole.
But the Shark was just getting warm.
Oh, never a doubt.
Birdies on 7, 8 and 9 were followed with another hat-trick on 12, 13 and 14. This for Eagle on 15.
And why not? Just made for him, Vern. That shot was right up his alley.
He didn't make that putt, but soon after came that record-equaling effort on the last.
What a stroke.
Seen it all. Amazing, dead centre cut.
Brent Fries, 7 Nightly News.
In AFL, Geelong has suffered another setback with a thrashing at Football Park, but the Crows didn't get off scot-free, again losing star forward Sean Wren to injury.
Without the suspended Gary Ablett and in front of a hostile Adelaide crowd, Geelong was in for a tough night. Pickering, however, gave them some early joy.
He's pretty good. That's a goal, I'd suggest.
But the Jarman brothers weren't to be outdone on their home ground.
Bounce. Great kick to the goal square. That's a goal.
The Crows began the second quarter with a 6-point lead and the use of the wind. McLeod bagging their first within a minute. Anything the Cats did, the Crows could do better. Tyson Edwards tipped in with 2 of his own, and at half-time the Crows' perfect record against Geelong at home looked in no danger. The bad news for Adelaide was ruckman Sean Wren, who after missing last season with a knee injury appeared to twist his knee badly again. The stretcher was barely cold when Matthew Liptak found himself on it, courtesy of Tim McGrath. The players staging a melee to keep the fans entertained during the delay. The incident spurred the Cats, but only momentarily. Adelaide maintaining its 7-goal buffer.
Good kick again by Brickley.
Des Dowling, 7 Nightly News.
And more than 34,000 league fans rocked the Suncorp Stadium tonight, witnessing the Battle of Brisbane. Rank underdogs, the Crushers, stunned everyone by crossing the Broncos line in the 3rd minute, but the try was disallowed and the teams were deadlocked for another 25 minutes. The Crushers fought back with 2 more tries before half-time for an 8-6 lead. But the Crushers were let go 23 minutes into the second half, the Broncos eventually running in 4 unanswered tries in 15 minutes. The final 28-8 scoreline, not reflecting the threat posed by the Crushers at the start. Hawaiian Sonny Garcia has taken out the final of the Rip Curl Pro Surfing Classic and taken over the world #1 ranking. The contest was moved from Bell Beach after a 3-day layoff because of poor surf.
Competitors drove 2 hours to Joanna Beach, where they found 1.5-metre waves for the final, which in the end saw Garcia up against New South Wales' Todd Prestige. It was a fitting finale, both having a shot at victory, but the Aussie may be a trace of nerves in his first WCT final and holding sway at several stages during the shootout. But Garcia was too experienced. After the lead changed 4 times, he won out, the first back-to-back victory in 15 years. Former triple world champion Jeff Fenech is to get a shot at a 4th world title in Melbourne next month. Fenech has been matched with IBF lightweight title holder Philip Holiday from South Africa, undefeated in 27 outings.
He's fought guys who punched a lot harder than Jeff Fenech, and he went the distance with them and he stopped them.
But Holiday is unconcerned about a pro-Fenech Melbourne crowd. And in Sydney, Greg Hall's appeal continued against a $50,000 fine and 2-month suspension. The improper riding charge was yet to be heard. His legal counsel argued immediately that the AJC had no right to level that charge at him before deciding on the appeal for the careless riding. After 3 hours, the Golden Slipper winning jockey emerged, no resolution in sight, and a long legal battle ahead. Peter Dandy, 7 Nightly News.
And still to come, the all-important weekend weather forecast and meet the mother who risked her 9 lives to save her kittens.